for one reason or another, the experience or the memory of my early life has become self-contained in a way. I don't quite know why or how this has happened. Um, and it's two things, if you like, which is one, coming to consciousness and awareness in a city, in a seaport, a very old seaport. And then when I was about 6 or 7, moving to the very edge of that city, right adjacent to farms, fields, in social housing. And my first sense of the world, or two worlds, I guess, is held in a kind of contrast or tension, which I keep going back to. I keep raiding, I keep using for material. Um, and it's underscored or underwritten. Most of what I've written, it got me going, and then most of the things I've written since then, I've been informed by that, I think. Um, Even when I'm not addressing it as a subject directly, it's kind of there bubbling under. Um, so yeah, and I like to think poems are, I don't want to say fun, that kind of traduces it or something, but um, I don't know, the burden of entertainment is on me, the writer, and I think enjoyment is important in poetry. The grand elementary principle of pleasure, Wordsworth said. Um, that possibility has to be there or thereabouts, I think. And you could say, yeah, you could say the best poems are all about repeat business. You know, you have to want to go back repeatedly. You want to come back to them, even though you can never really get to the bottom of them. So that's what I value as a reader. That's what I enjoy as a reader. Um, and you know, one can only hope that that's the case in some of the things I've written. They're all in there because they earn their place, and for me, earning its place of a poem would mean it manages to surprise. It manages to not be me, you know, in an odd way, even though clearly these things start with the writer. But in a way, they kind of go beyond us in a way. So poems that work for me are independently alive and available, and they're doing something beyond, yeah, you know, beyond the bundle of accidents and incoherence that sits down to give an interview on camera. Um, so they have an aliveness about them, and they have a separateness from me, which I know can sound odd to some readers, but that's the kind of that's the barrier, if you like. That's the kind of the thing that allows them in, admits entry to the book. That's the kind of standard for me. You know, in When It Rained for a Million Years, I only noticed when it was first published, after it was published, and I had the book in my hands, that it begins with the drone of a light aircraft, and it ends with a pop of bubble wrap. And in between, there are all manner of sound effects and noises and voices, completely unintended. Um, and so, yeah, I suppose I think of poetry books as macro versions of individual poems. Um, the same way I'd let a poem reveal itself in the writing, in the act of writing it. Um, I think the book, or I find the book in the gathering together of material. Um, there's a thing Tom Gunn said, which I'm fond of. He said, "You know, you've got a book when you feel something's been covered." And for me, that's a great way of putting it. And you know, also like with a single poem, a book can yield up stuff that you just couldn't see when you were in the middle of making it, and you just have to go on this trustworthy feeling that you're covering something, that something is constellating, gathering together. I think any writer, any artist is obliged to make the best piece of work that they possibly can. I'm sure all of us would say that. And one of the most exciting things about writing a poem, I think, is the opportunity for invention, the opportunity to be surprised, um, and all of these things that are in play, all of these bits of you, your reading, your experience, your memory, the there and then and the here and now, very dynamic, or can be very dynamic. And yeah, I think every poem's a balancing act in that way. And if you're lucky, a discovery as well. Um, and you're trying to make this thing, yeah, that kind of holds fast, a pattern, a voice, a shape, and that springs to life when the reader pays attention to it. That is independently alive. I was thinking of all the shortlistees and recipients of the prize over 30 odd years. What a superb roster of writers, new writers, writers who aren't with us anymore. And yeah, I thought, how could you not be honoured to be included in those ranks?